I'd like to say thank you very much for coming in and joining us as we discuss and share about the concept of responsible innovation. And it is, as the phrasing goes, change is good, responsible change is even better. And across the university, listening to President Crow this morning, it really drove those points home. That it is so important to keep in mind, not only the efforts that we're carrying out, but the broader impact it has and the responsibilities we all share to the communities that we serve. And again, this framework of innovation very much hits that sweet spot that we're going to be discussing. So the big takeaways for today, and we're going to try to make sure that this is under 10 minutes so that we can spend. Yes. Zella?
Yes. So I'm Zella, and I'll be helping you with your SOAR analysis. Thank you.
Chris?
Sorry.
No, you're good. I'm Chris Deaton. I'm a product owner. I'm also the facilitator of the Health and Wellness Community of Practice.
And I'm Barnaby Wasson, proud member of Zella's product and programs training team. And we're here to talk about responsible innovation. So the goals and takeaway for today's very small little intro, so we can spend some time talking about the meat of it, is we're going to go through quickly around the Responsible Innovation Charter itself and try to distill some principles, encourage that distillation. Second is to look at how through a variety of different user stakeholder driven examples, we can then define how that charter and those principles apply themselves, both in size, scale, and risk. Then look at ways that plans can be driven to help provide people some guidance to say, these are some approaches you might want to take in your own practices if you're attempting to apply or to modify this example or this approach to it. And the last one is, how can we drive the broader efforts around responsible innovation to be reflected in our own practices and our work across the university to help drive the university's charter and the UTO's core values. Succinctly placed, the charter, the UTO Responsible Innovation Charter focuses on 5 main core areas. We start with this anticipatory section of asking why. We've got to know not only at the beginning why it is that we're doing what we're doing, but throughout that effort, what it is that we're doing. The why needs to constantly be guiding. What are the questions? Who are our intended audiences? What are intended consequences? What are the unintended consequences, and who have we not yet brought in? Which then brings up this broader reactive reflective effort of human-centric. We need to be cognizant of those of the efforts, of the solutions, the designs, the systems that we are helping enable, and its impact on people and the communities of those individuals. The inclusive aspect of making sure that we've got as many voices involved as possible. When we use the term stakeholder, we mean it as a broad concept. Everyone is ultimately a stakeholder, either directly or indirectly, and having their voices, their impact and incorporation within that conversation is critical to this work. Being reflective, looking both forward and back, what it is that we've done, where are we going, what should we be thinking of, and doing that constantly. And the last one is making sure that we are empowering and enabling and helping foster our team so that they can successfully carry out this broader effort.
So today we want to talk about using the principles of the charter and how that impacted one of the products or projects that I am a part of. This was a Sync Showcase. So real briefly, for those that don't know, at the beginning of last semester, my understanding is more or less was a napkin conversation of how can we showcase and show the world what ASU is doing, not only for the students, but also for the faculty to enable education in the pandemic environment that we were dealing with. And so one of the things that came up with was Sync Showcase. And what we did in a matter of about 2 weeks, I can't take much credit for it. The development team did an absolute phenomenal job on getting this up and running for us. But what they were able to do is set up a mechanism to allow people to watch ASU Zoom classes that are already taking place. So students that were in classes were now going to be viewed by the external public. And so that sounds like a great thing, right? I mean, there's lots of wonderful reasons why we want to show people what we're doing, and lots of wonderful opportunity to showcase not only what the students are doing, but what we as an innovative university are doing. I have to say at the time that this project was brought to me, we had a really good conversation, and that I was instilled with a lot of confidence that we would probably do the right thing, because when it was brought to me, one of the first questions and comments was made is they felt like this might be a little disingenuous to the students that we are trying to serve. So we started asking why. And what was the question? And why were we doing things so fast without taking a pause and seeing what we were really all about to do this? So, and who were we trying to serve? Was this for ASU as a whole to showcase what we were trying to do? Or were we really trying to make our priority of student education and engagement and providing a community of inclusivity and belongingness for those students? A number of members on the team thought that might be in question at this point. We hadn't told the students this is what we were going to do. We hadn't had conversations with professors yet. And I was able to bring up the charter that Barnaby just shared the highlights of with you in a product discussion of what exactly are we going to do. Fortunately for me, other members of the team included such people such as Allison Hall and Ruby, and they had already asked a couple of dozen questions as to how are we protecting the privacy of the students, how are we making sure we're ensuring student engagement. And I was able to take those couple of dozen questions and bring them forward and outlay them along the charter. At that point, I had a conversation with Kyle Bowen and said, what are we doing for the students? And as many of us know, the answer that we often get is that it will be taken care of. And as having just come off the Responsible Innovation Guild that we had formed and starting this charter, I didn't feel like that was an adequate enough answer. So I shared the charter with Kyle and said, this is what we're trying to get behind. This charter comes from, conversations with the development team and a conversation that Chris Richardson helped lead with Dave Guston from the School of Future Innovation Society. And this is something we're all trying to get behind. And he understood that and he got that. And we were able to start looking at how we could best facilitate these things and make sure that we were reaching all the objectives that the university wanted to meet for themselves and for the people that we were serving. A couple of cool things kind of came out of this. We did take a quick pause. We set up a situation so that the students could be had a contact that they could reach out to if they had some concerns. We had conversations with a number of, I think probably all of them by the end of the program, all the professors on the best way that they could facilitate this conversation with their students. Another cool thing that kind of came out of this, talking about the who do we serve and what are we trying to accomplish here, is one of the English classes was able to use this process in this program to highlight what they were doing, which was a observation project. So while they were discussing how they were observing people and places and things, they were discussing how we were observing them and other people were doing the same. So we ended up turning this into a real meta discussion in the class that day, and it was really rather interesting. We've continued to move forward with this. And one of the things that we are now doing, or have done actually, is I've taken the use cases that were developed, or the skeletal use cases that Ruby and Allison came up with the questions, and we've turned those into use cases and we put them all in the backlog for the Sync Showcase. We are getting ready to prepare to put that team back together here in next couple of weeks, I'm sure. And at that point, we'll now have a backlog that are related to responsible innovation. So we're asking the questions why, we're involving the people that are going to use the product, as well as the ones on our end of it and the students and the faculty themselves. So this gives you a little idea of the the Sync Showcase user stories we put together. And it was really pretty simple. It was a really high level approach. Not very many complicated questions, even though I started with 24 from Allison and Ruby. It was really simple. As a student, I want to feel comfortably engaged in my class. I want to protect my identity as for my purpose status, and I want to have confidentiality within my classroom. I really think those are kind of low-hanging fruit, right? I mean, this is what we want to provide for all of our students, and we weren't asking those questions yet, so we asked to do so. Same for the professor. I want students to be able to ask the tough questions. It goes back to that confidentiality and feeling like they're in a safe space, and students to be engaged in the discussion. As a stakeholder, I want to know who viewed the landing page. Obviously, that was a simple one for their statistics, and I threw in this one to follow the principles of responsible innovation. For me, this is something that we should start doing on most of our products, if not all of them right away, because this allows a conversation to happen. It doesn't mean you have to implement everything we're trying to do with responsible innovation, but allows a dialogue to begin.
Yes. So what we're hoping for you to do right now is to, using the SOAR process, to look at ways that we can help identify what are, the broader opportunities, what are the broader aspirations, what are the results, and I missed the S, our successes. So within that, we're going to go ahead and break out into, not break out, we're going to share the Google Docs so that we can write together as we do this. And we do actually believe in this process of saying, as you've heard Chris and I share some of the concepts, and again, these are very brief, that you have an opportunity to be able to start this broader response with us and this broader reflection with us. It is an invitation to bring you into the community of practice around responsible innovation. That really is what we're hoping, that if you find this resonate with you today, that you join us so that we can co-explore this together. And this document right now will give us a chance to be able to start looking at it. So what are the strengths that you see immediately around responsible innovation that could be applied to what you're doing? What are opportunities you see that speak directly to what it is that you're attempting to do? As you're carrying out your roles within the university, what are the opportunities that you see responsible innovation being able to carry out and present successes? The aspiration aspects, how do you see that escalating out to the university itself? What are things that could be, in a perfect world, that you say, if we could be doing this? And the last, the results. How do you see tangibly being able to contribute to something? You say, here is something that can be measured or identified as a successful result of this larger effort. And I believe Zella has dropped in that template for us.
Yep, and everyone should have access to it and can go right to strengths on second slide, and you should be able to begin to add your comments, and the same through the next several slides for the opportunity, aspirations, and results. So please join in and helping us complete the SOAR analysis. So starting off with a strength, you can add comments directly there in the template. You can share in the chat, or feel free to also have some discussion as we go along. Some great strengths, confidence that we can pivot when necessary to meet the need of our staff and students. Opportunities, getting the students' voice, that's a great opportunity.
I would say one thing for me, this has been huge. Anybody that knows some of my past and history here at ASU, I was part of the QA team, the QA manager for a number of years. And a lot of this kind of feeds directly into that, at least from my perspective. And sometimes those conversations are difficult, right? I mean, a stakeholder, developer, or project manager, whoever wants to release something, and because someone has set a date and the line in the sand that this is what we have to meet, and that's not always the best way to do things, and sometimes those dates are pretty arbitrary, and those conversations become hard because we have expectations that have been set, but July 1st is the date. Having the charter has made those conversations much more susceptible and much more they've just gone better. Honestly, they've been more productive. They'll have a tool to refer to. So here's why we're asking these questions. I don't feel like there's anything we've lined out on the charter. And again, it was a large group of not only developers and others that helped put the charter together, but it was something that was pretty well discussed over a number of months. And I don't feel like there's anything on there that people can deny and say that's not a value that we hold true for ASU and for UTO, that we would like to adhere to that. Now, we know that not always can we manage to do all the things we'd like to do, but I think one of the biggest strengths of this is having that tool to have that discussion.
It also is very closely aligned to how President Crow is seeing the transformation of the university. He is very much pushing the university into an accountable framework of knowledge creation, of knowledge delivery, of its application. And it's not just being socially cognate, but it's also being, again, open, accountable, and transparent around that process to say, we own this full conversation, we own this full experience. And that responsible innovation framework itself is at the core of that transformation. President Crow reflects upon it in his musings and writing in The Fifth Wave, his framework around the National Service University, as the university ASU is transitioning into that kind of a space. So that is highlighted and realized there, and it's alignment to how it is the larger aspirations of the ASU Charter is very much empowered through this kind of effort of do you bring people in? How do you make sure that you keep them included? It's much more than just, I've done a focus group. I've invited people in. I got some feedback. It was good stuff. And then you move on. Because I'm going to be honest, sometimes we look at what's in front of us. We have 99 problems that we're busy trying to figure out, and including more time to reflect and then react and then come back and present and then reflect and react and come back and present. Sometimes it's seen as why am I doing that? And that's exactly what you should be asking, because what you're hoping to drive is that broader impact, that responsible impact. And because when honestly, when the effort is done, you will have something that is substantively value add to the community that you're serving, and everyone around it will say, I own this, I see it, I'm moving forward. Very distinct to the many projects that we've all toiled in, and then we look back and go like, nothing became of it. The old adage, build it and they will come, is so not very true in technology. And so we need to keep that in mind. We have limited choices, limited opportunities to be able to impact the work and the lives of others. And we need to be careful about that in our energy and focus. And this helps us do that care.
Great opportunity.
I think another thing that comes out of this in conversations I've had recently is if we continue asking the why, it may become a little annoying at times. You keep finding out more information. I'm involved with the faculty website project that's going right now, and it started out about this big and it's become about this big, and I feel like this is going to keep going this big. And why is because we keep asking why are we doing this? Why did we do this before? Why now, and what's next? And looking for the future. One of the principles of the charter is making sure we're looking forward and back. We've uncovered a lot of things that we didn't realize were part of this project in the beginning 6 weeks ago. So, which will make things better in the end. We won't be done with what we think we're done with, and then realize, oh wait, we missed this and this and this that should have been included in this product to begin with.
And I'm loving the fact that we've got 12 minutes right now, and I'm watching all of you respond to the various aspects of, again, our strengths, opportunities, aspirations, and results. Is there anything that Chris and I can further focus or elaborate on? Again, we've tried to make sure that we're very succinct.
We've got some great start on these strengths and opportunities. Definitely need to capture in the remaining time, the second half, the aspirations and the results. So perhaps you might focus a little, I know you spoke to these, but might help get the creative juices going.
I think Ward mentioned something earlier for sure. And I almost cheered for him. That's something I've asked for years. Can we get students involved in QAing or get students involved early on? I'm a student. While I may not be the average age student, I can't imagine that my children wouldn't be a little excited to be able to be involved in what UTO is doing and seeing what's going on, if that's something they're interested in. Some of the student groups, things like that. So I think in the future, that's something I would see this look more like, we want to build this. Would you use it? Things like that.
In aspiration wise, it reminds me of, and we use this term now very openly. We're all about agile. We agile development, we agile manage, we agile budget, we agile human resource, we agile lunch. We do it all the time. But at its core, the manifest of being agile, the being accountable, being more concerned around the product versus the process, more involved around the value add that you're carrying out, that is customer centric, that really should be driving it, and how you go hold yourself accountable with those, is now reflected in a myriad of different processes. So if there was an aspiration for the university, I believe I see that in President Crow's own musings around the fifth wave articulation of where a national service university needs to establish itself. And ASU very much is in that process. Or how Love is, our CIO is transitioning the University Technology Office into an Enterprise Technology Office focus. That effort's also very much cognizant of what it is that we're doing that holds us accountable and transparent and open to everyone that we're serving. And that is, I think that will find itself, again, in an aspiration mode, should find itself in all aspects of the university, not just the development side, not just the technology side of the university, even though President Crow was saying how technology enabled ASU success is. But I think I see responsible innovation speaking to many aspects across many stakeholders of the university. Say, I do this within my own practice, professional domain at ASU, and it is very much an empowered voice and an action, and role given this type of framework. Anything else to add around that, the aspiration side?
No, I think you did great. Other than what I'd added before that, I was actually just reading some of the results and responses that we're getting in here. I definitely see the new process opportunity for products and programs. Someone put in the opportunities. We are taking this forward to some degree. We haven't done the next step yet. We put together the use cases we feel are a template for responsible innovation. So those that in the JIRA product board, there's already some templates there for just regular standard things we should be talking about or doing all products. So we're actually going to add some of these. It's going to be a small set to that so that people will be able to see them and possibly incorporate them in their products. We have done one set of those already, and they've been handed to the Responsible Innovation Guild to review before we move them forward. So no, that we are hoping that will be something that we can have as a checkbox later to say, yep, we checked all these things off when we did this.
Right. Chris and Barnaby, for those that would like to continue the conversation, is there a way to that you recommend they can have their voice at the table in this work?
Yes.
That is a wonderful question to ask, and one that is not, it wasn't prepared at all. So
I'm trying to find the channel.
Yeah, I've got the channel here, and I'll go ahead and paste it.
Thanks.
So that's in Slack. You can go ahead and self enroll in that, or self join. If you're outside of the UTO working group inside of Slack, because there's so many different working groups that sometimes you can't see or access them, please send Chris and I a note. Because I think mental note, Chris, we should very much ask Melissa if she can help us ensure that that is an open channel. And I'm just saying that for the benefit from all of us in a transparency and accountable and open fashion. We will.
I'll take care of it.
Okay. And then the other aspect around that too is there are monthly meetings that we're coming together to push this work forward. But I'll be honest, we also have working sessions in between those monthly meetings to also help articulate some of this work, because monthly cadence is great because it keeps it relevant in our heads, but it's not frequent enough to be able to carry out focused work. And that's what we're doing within the side meetings that are taking place. If any of those want to, that seem to catch your interest, either further refining the charter itself, or working on the principles, or on the broader use cases, or on drafting plans, all of those aspects we love and want and encourage you to participate, to join, to own this.
Very nice.
One thing we are doing, it's not finalized or set in stone yet, but I've got real high confidence that this will happen. I've been having some discussions with SFIS, the School of Future Innovation Society, where Dave Gustin comes from, and Barnaby and I and Jenny are looking at doing a conversation with some of their students this next semester, and try to get them involved in this. I mean, that department kind of, responsible innovation kind of should be the tagline for what they really are working on over there, or what they would like to have their focus on. So, going with the getting student involvement, we're going to push forward pretty quickly on that right away, and hopefully that'll be some good times.
We have about 5 minutes more. If you'd like to chat on any one particular component of either the strengths, opportunities, aspirations, or results. If there's any one thing or clarification why we have our group of folks together, and that might be a good way to utilize that last bit of time.
I just wanted to say one thing. Barnaby put our guild Slack channel in the chat. We would love for you all, whoever is interested, to join us. We would love to hear your voices and help us craft how RI looks at ASU in the future. So please, if you have an interest or a passion, please come join us. We would love to have you.
Great, Karina, thank you. So I think we've given Barnaby and Chris both a good amount of information. They'll be able to share in their 1-minute report out and hopefully get some more people engaged as well.